haven't done a music podcast in a while. Well, guess who's back after a year of being away? We shot the last podcast. I said June 9th. And we were just talking how on June 9th we shot one. That was a Monday. 2 days later, I become a grandpa 3 months early. So I will never forget when we shot our very first podcast together, Noah France, as he's here with me today. How are you this afternoon, this evening?
I'm great. I just got off the golf course.
I was just going to ask,
ready.
Who won?
Not me.
Darn it. You can lie. You could have lied.
No, I'm just gonna be honest. I'm still learning. I'm only just getting into golf, so I'm pretty exhausted physically from that, but mentally I'm locked in. I'm ready.
Your dad didn't make you walk, did he?
No, we got a cart.
Okay, I was gonna say that's ridiculous. You've got to have the cart. So if you listen to our first podcast, and by the way, it got a bunch of likes, but it actually got a dislike. What's going on?
It?
I don't know.
Like,
is it one of my friends? Is it one of your friends? Because this happens at the school all the time because it doesn't show you dislikes. But if you have a bunch of likes and then it's less than 100%, it means you got a thumbs down. So people don't like Pearl Jam. They didn't like my list or your list, or they didn't like we talked about you graduating from VIT. I don't know. So hopefully we'll get. Well, now I've brought it up, so we're going to get more than one thumbs down now. So
like if my roommate sees this, he's going to dislike it.
Is he? And I'm going to have friends that are going to dislike it because, well, I'll get into it with what our topic is. But anyway, so tell us a little bit, how did the year go at Iowa State in Ames, Iowa? Just real quick, because we talked about it last time, 363 days ago or whatever it is.
No, it's great start, honestly. I mean, Iowa State is great. At least for me, being like a small town kid, Iowa State feels like Table Grove, Illinois, just with like 30,000 people. I mean, it's so like, I think that's part to do with the fact that how walkable it is, just because I'm so used to that and not like going to drive somewhere if I need to go somewhere, just because you're in the middle of nowhere. But then also just everyone there is a farm kid. It's definitely like a farm kid school, so it's just people that I'm used to being around. But no, overall, honestly, it was a great first year.
Well, that's cool, and I knew you would do well, and that was never like in question. And it's awesome that you had a good time, and looking forward to going back. But I've been wanting to do this. We talked at Christmas about doing it. But, it's so hard when you're in college, and that even though you have a month off. Seeing everybody, spending time with everybody, that month, it goes pretty quick, really. It honestly does after you go, besides the holidays and everything else. So I'm glad we're getting to do this. We're going to try to do a couple of more of them at least. I brought you into this topic, because you're younger. You weren't alive, clearly, because your dad. Do you even know what year did your dad and mom graduate from high school? I was thinking about this earlier. Do you know?
Yeah, my dad was 99 and my mom was 98.
Oh, it was way further down the line than I thought. But anyway, so we're gonna hit the 90s a little bit, and I like getting a different perspective of the 90s. And so if you were going to say your favorite decade, if you had to pick on the spot, we haven't talked about this, what's your favorite decade of music? Would it be the 90s?
Yeah. No, 100%. Close. 80s are very close. I'm a big Van Halen guy, and like everything in that era is really cool, but no, I'd probably 90% of my music listening is from the decade of the 90s.
And being a person who grew up in the 80s, who obviously the 80s is number one for me, but growing up at a time when we listened to the music that was out when I was a kid, but we were also listening to the 70s. We were also listening to the 60s, as a big Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd guy like I am. And then, I could talk for hours on when it changed in the 90s. And the funny thing is my friend Jerry and I are going to get back to the 80s, hopefully not this week, but next week. And we decided to start at 89 and work our way back to the ones we haven't talked about. And that is when music started to change, was 89. That's what I did this afternoon, waiting while we were, in between. While you were golfing, I'm down there going through albums from 89 on my deck outside. And music was getting ready to change. And so today we're going to start in the time period that absolutely changed music away from what it was in the 80s. So I asked you, I said, you pick a year for me that you want for us to rank the top 10 albums from that year. So you chose 1994. We had a discussion before about it. Give me your opinion of the year as a whole without really getting into your list yet. Like, why did you pick 94?
Well, yeah, so 91 was obviously the transitional year. It was the year that everything was flipped on its head. It went from hair metal to flannel. And that was when grunge was in full swing. But then 94 kind of gets overshadowed a lot because that's the year where everything really got into full swing. It was when it was fully established. There was when kind of the whole alternative rock and that fully became mainstream. It wasn't 4 bands. It was all the bands. But then you also, it's not only alternative, you also had things like Boyz II Men and a lot of hip hop and stuff like that was taking off. It was just kind of the establishment that this is what the 90s is going to be, and these are the artists that are going to define it.
It's funny that you say that because of this, and I was thinking this earlier. So how old are you now?
I'm 19.
You're 19. I mean, in 94, I'm 23. And you're exactly right with what you were just saying in terms of, 91 is one of the greatest years of music ever, and it's not close. You don't know music if you don't agree with that, because things changed and just certain bands exploded and just the direction of music went in a totally different direction. And those bands killed off some of the bands from my late years of high school and whatever, and so on. But you're right that so many different genres then became a part of music. Rap music, where you and I grew up, wasn't super popular when I was a kid. You weren't getting a lot of rap music. I remember when Run DMC hit the scene when I was a sophomore in high school in 86, but it wasn't like it was in the 90s. In the 90s, it was on the same level as the music that, there were some of those on my list, and it just changed. And then, like you said, 94 is almost as that roller coaster is going up for all of those bands. And I'm looking forward to this talk. We had talked before, and my thing about 94 is this. My top 4 were automatic, no doubt about it. It was just what order they go into. Then after that, it was almost impossible for me. I still can't believe my list is what it is. It just doesn't make sense. So I'm interested to see what you think of my list, having listened and what you know of of music, and I'm looking forward to my friends coming after me for what I actually ended up with. So
no, I know I'm done for after this. I know some of my friends, and I know that if they listen to this, they might dislike it.
Yeah.
They might dislike the podcast.
Well, that's all right. I like it because we'll get into it. So, and I left stuff off my list that I cannot believe I left off my list. I don't even mean, if you've never listened to one of these podcasts, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go through, each of us are going to go through 5 that just missed. They're basically like the NCAA tournament. They're the first 5 out. So the first 5 out, or the just missed list, for both of us is where we're going to start. And there's things that weren't in that I cannot believe weren't in that. So I'm going to let you go first. What are your first 5 out just missed list?
5, yeah. So, preface, before I say my first 5, I have 2 things on my list I have 2 things that aren't on my list, just because I'm not experienced with listening to them. The first is any like hip hop or really pop in general, just because I listen to primarily alternative and grunge, and I felt like I wouldn't be able to give a good opinion just because that's not what I listen to. And second, and the one that's gonna get my friends mad at me, is I don't have Grace by Jeff Buckley anywhere on here because I've never listened to it. I don't know how I haven't, because I know everyone says it's amazing. But I also didn't want to lie and say that I have listened to it. But that is, I mean, I've heard the two from the album, but I've never listened to the whole thing. So I'm going to listen to that. I haven't yet.
It's funny how you feel guilty. Like you feel people are going to attack you because of this. And you know what?
I have two friends that will.
And you know what? They are, because that's how music is. It's almost worse than sports. Because, I mean, sports is just like your team or the teams that the handful of that you root for. Music is totally different. And now I get you. And for your friends that may be listening to this, my friends who've already listened to the other ones I've done, I make a list. I put every album that I would even consider. It could have one song on it that I know from that year, and it's on my list. And I try to go through them. It would be a lie to say I do it every time, but I do go through a lot of them. And these albums that we're going to talk about today, I did this last week at work. The ones that I could play out loud that didn't have a bunch of profanity playing in them. But I did, and then I kind of rank them like how many songs out of how many are on the album do I like, and then that helps me decide. And then it really comes down to what's the most influential, or what really hits me the most. What am I going to put in and listen to all the way through, not just skip around, because I'm the king of skipping around, the king of it. And that's what's funny about it. You and I getting into vinyl, me getting back into vinyl, is I'll sit in my room that's to my left, and I'll be like, I can't skip this now. I got to listen to it. So that's kind of how I picked my list. So, all right. So we've put the disclaimer out.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
You know how good the song "Last Goodbye" is from Jeff Buckley, because it's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
But it didn't make either of my lists either. So I will be in trouble with one of my dear friends because of that as well. So here's your your just missed our what?
All right. So my first one is Throwing Copper by Live. It's great. I felt like the other ones on it that I put were better. Beck, Mellow Gold. Beck's awesome. He doesn't just have Loser. I just saw him live not too long ago, and it was great. He's definitely got a lot of like swagger. And
Pause for a second. You saw Beck in concert? I didn't know this. I don't think I knew this.
Well, so Innings Festival in Tempe, Arizona. He was one of the.
I love Beck so much. I can remember when Mellow Gold came out, clearly. Obviously, I lived through this. And he was such a goof when he first came on MTV. I need to find this and send it to you. But anyway, yeah, Mellow Gold, he was really eccentric, and it was probably on 120 Minutes. There used to be a show, I don't know if you've heard of 120 Minutes? Yeah. He was on, like, I just remember seeing him, and I liked that. But like, yeah. So anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, he reminds me of Weird Al, which I don't know why. But so my next one was Smash by The Offspring, their debut record. Which Smash is really good. It's got a lot of hits on it, but I like their Americana better, which is why it didn't make my top 10. But Smash is still great. Ill Communication by Beastie Boys. Kind of wish I would have put that higher, but I don't know. I guess I like REM more. But and then last one was Rubberneck by the Toadies. Toadies are super underrated. They're not really like, I wouldn't call them as mainstream as some of the other bands, but they're kind of just a really underrated pick, and their songs are really fun to play on guitar, which is why I have them in my honorable, just missed, I guess.
Well, my friend Chad, he's gonna one of my dear friends, Chad. He's gonna really like that. He's gonna like that you mentioned the toadies on there, because we were just talking about. I messaged him the other day. You and I were gonna do this, and he brought them up. So, yeah, that's a good list. Live not being on on either of my lists is I was thinking of that this afternoon. What else did you say that I was thinking of? Not ill communication.
Smash.
I knew you were gonna put Offspring, because I've seen you put stuff on Instagram about Offspring. I figured you'd have something on there. So here's my list, and I'll start from the bottom. It would be blasphemy for me to not have one of my favorite bands ever on here, but like the Division Bell from Pink Floyd didn't make my top 10, and I listen to Pink Floyd all the time. I have more vinyl. Yeah, the fact that I don't have them on there is a surprise, but I don't like it that much. It's probably my least favorite, or one of my least favorite albums of theirs. Again, being all over the place, the Allman Brothers Band, which you wouldn't think they'd be still putting stuff out in '94, they put out an album called Where It All Begins, and I went back and listened to it again this week, and there's some songs on it that are just fantastic, just so good, and I really, really love them a lot. This one's gonna get you. Vitology from Pearl Jam didn't make my top 10. There's just more on it that I don't care to listen to than there is that I do. I really love the ones I love on there, but the ones I don't like Corduroy is one of my favorite songs ever, but it wasn't enough to pull it into that top 10. Which brings me to my next one, like how the Downward Spiral from Nine Inch Nails isn't in my top 10. Like the song Hurt, I listened to it the other day after not having listened to it for a long time. And the Johnny Cash version, it's great too. But like, there's a song on there, instrumental, A Warm Place, I've listened to a million times. March of the Pigs. Closer is clearly really inappropriate, but a great song. Yeah, It Just Missed. And then I'm sure this one's in your top 10. And I know you love this band. And I had this CD, and they kind of get minimized because they didn't really have a ton of hits other than this album. They had some other stuff, but 4 from Blues Traveler. But here's the thing, I listened to this at work this week. Yep, I knew you had that on there. I knew that's what you were wearing. I listened to this album during Chromebook time, as I was working on Chromebooks at school. It's really good, and it probably deserves to be in that top 10. There are some, like the song Just Wait was the one that jumps out at me, that like when you look at its number of streams on Spotify, it's not real high, obviously, because it's not Hook, right? Or Run Around, or When the Mountain, what is it?
Mountains Win Again.
Yeah, that's a good song. But like Just Wait is the one that I was like, damn, that's a good song. Like that wasn't, and I go back and look, I go to Wikipedia and see what charted and what didn't, and that one didn't, but that's a good song. So we're gonna talk about Blues Traveler again. I have a feeling in the top 10. So anyway, all right.
Maybe.
So there we go. Just missed. First 10 out between the two of us. So your number 10, Noah France, 1994. Let's get into it. What is it?
I had to give it to Monster, REM. It's kind of one of their more, I guess, I don't know. I wasn't really alive then, but in my opinion, one of the more underrated albums. What's the Frequency, Kenneth is like one of my favorite songs ever. But then there's also like Bang and Blame on that album, and also it's just like a really like intriguing album cover, which I think adds points, but I don't know.
I think album covers play into it too. Yeah, like it's a thing, all of it together. Not that it affects the music, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah, honestly, that's kind of all I got to say about that one. It's just like I just really like REM. I'm kind of biased. I'm a big REM guy.
Yeah, I had it on CD, and I love that song, that you mentioned, and I listened to it this week, and it was just like I can't. It was on my list, the list to listen to, but I just couldn't. It just didn't. It doesn't have enough on it to pull it on there for me.
Yeah.
My number 10 is from the Dave Matthews Band, and I went back and forth whether to put this on there or not, but I'm pretty sure it's their debut. They might have put out something else ahead of it, like an EP or something. But Under the Table and Dreaming is my number 10. The two songs I put, like the main hit, one of the hits, and then one that wasn't a hit that I really like. What Would You Say is the hit, and then Jimmy Thing is the song I really like that actually didn't chart or wasn't released, I don't think. I listen to a lot of Dave Matthews and Tim Reynolds. I don't know if you've ever listened to those, like that combination. It's not his band. It's just he and a guy, big guitar player, Tim Reynolds. And I really enjoy listening to them when they play shows. I listen to it on YouTube. They put out a couple albums out, I think. But that's mine. I like Dave Matthews. I don't listen to him all the time, but that had a number of songs on that album that I really like.
Yeah. All right. Are we breaking into number 9?
Yep.
Okay. I'm excited about. I put Bush, 16 Stone, at number 9. I could talk about this album for forever because not just because it's a great album. I mean, you got Calm Down, obviously, Glycerin, which was their like big breakthrough hit, and like Little Things and Machine Head and the whole record. But also Bush as a whole kind of gets like now they are kind of looked at as like a secondary band, but like people forget how big of a deal they were. I mean, they were like I think of Woodstock '99, which obviously is 5 years later. They were the last band to go on. They were the headliner. Like they were such a big deal, and Glycerin obviously was such a huge deal, but I don't know. It's also just like it's one of my no skips albums. I don't think there's any songs on it, for me at least, that I like. I'm like, man, I gotta turn the record over. I gotta hit skip.
I mean, that's saying a lot. Like it doesn't matter whether anyone else thinks that or not. Yeah, for you to have that as a no skip, I love that album. It didn't make mine. It's not on my 10 and it's not in my 5, but not because Come Down, like you said, is unreal. Glycerine is too. Machine Head, you haven't been to a high school boys basketball game in the last 20 years where that's not a warm-up song. Yeah. And you said Little Things, which I listened to it this week. Everything's Zen. Are you kidding? That song's so good too. So yeah, no, I got nothing against that album. It's good. And what you're saying is true. Did they drop off after that? Razorblade Suitcase. I love the song Swallowed. I've listened to it a gazillion times. I've not listened to the rest of the album probably enough that it sticks in my head. But yeah, no. Gavin Rossdale and Bush are very, very, very good. There's no argument that shouldn't fit on a list. My number 9 is an album called Dummy by a band called Portishead. I don't know if you've heard of them. They came on to the scene through MTV. It was an I looked up to see what they would be considered. And they were like an electronic band. The song Sour Times is what they're known for. It's a weird... Have you ever heard of them?
No, I haven't actually.
So now you need to listen to this. This is not something you're going to play. You're not going to play it on your guitar probably. It's really electronic music, but not like techno. It's the kind of music you'd hear in a James Bond movie. I need you to listen to it just to see what you think. And you don't have to listen to the whole album. Here's the deal. Sour Times was the hit. It Could Be Sweet is my other song that I typed up over here on my right. There's a song called Glory Box on there that I really like. It's just, this was when my music taste started to just explode. I started listening to things that I had never listened to before when we were kids. It's kind of like we were saying about coming out of the 80s. To me, this is when music just kind of exploded into multiple different directions. And in my life, like I said, at 23 years old, that's absolutely what was happening, and Portishead was at the front of that happening. So that's my number 9.
I need to listen to that.
Yeah, it's going to be something that you don't usually listen to, but I'd just be interested to see what you think.
All right. So number 8 for me, I'm going to have to put Hootie, the Blowfish, Cracked Rear View. This is my car. This is when I'm driving. I got to listen to any, Hootie and the Blowfish, just that whole album, any song on it. I mean, obviously you got the two that everyone knows from that record, but there's also just a lot of, it's another really good, easy listening, kind of just, I like to call it dopamine inducing music. It just makes you happy. There's not really any there's not much sad vibes going on in that album. And also Hootie, I mean, pipes, he can sing. He just has a great voice.
The funny thing about that album is when I was 23, we made fun of it a lot. We didn't like it. It wasn't what we were listening to. And then now, as a 55-year-old, yeah, I enjoy listening to it. I listen through the songs that I like on there. We were all into the 91 bands. We were into that, yeah. And we weren't, if you were them or is it? Yeah. Oh, now I'm gonna draw on a blank. Rob Thomas. What Matchbox 20?
Yeah, Matchbox 20.
Yeah, we didn't listen to that stuff, but I like it now. At that time when it came out, so in '94, I wasn't listening to Hootie and the Blowfish. But everything you just said is 100% true. I'm not saying it because you're on here and just being nice. I agree with that now. 23-year-old me would laugh at you, but 55-year-old me appreciates that as a good album. My number 8, and this one's one that was higher and dropped and moved, and I had it on CD. Super Unknown from Soundgarden. It seems too low. It probably is too low. I went through it multiple times, and Black Hole Sun is a billion stream on Spotify, and deservedly so. One of the greatest songs ever. It has this funny thing. When one of my friends bought it, when I was still at home, we were still at home. He had these really awesome Bose speakers. He went to the U of I when he was home. He would have been home, and at the 5-minute and 2-second mark, there's this sound. So I want you to listen back to it one of these days. 502 on it. It sounded like his phone ringing, and we stopped it. And every time I hear it, it sounded like the phone in the house was ringing, and we thought, oh, somebody's calling. Every time I hear that song, I think about how great it is, and that moment. Spoon Man, My Wave is so good. And I'm not being morbid about it. The last song on it is called Like Suicide, and it stinks that Chris Cornell took his own life. But that song is so good, and it's eerie, weird, or whatever. But there are so many good songs on that album, but it ended up at 8 on my list. Thoughts about? I mean, is it coming up on yours?
Yeah,
this is what we usually do. So if it's coming up, you can just skip and go on to your 7. Okay, so we'll get your thoughts in a minute.
All right. So my number 7, I probably should put it higher, but I'm a huge Oasis fan. The whole Britpop explosion. I guess it was really only 2 mainstream bands, but Oasis is awesome, and definitely maybe is, in my opinion, their masterpiece. And it's funny because that was their first record. Um, but you got, I mean, Live Forever, Cigarettes and Alcohol is a banger of a song. But then their last song on the album, Married with Children, is also amazing. You got Supersonic. They're just, I mean, like, it's such a, it's such a, like, pivotal record for not just like Oasis, but it was another just kind of example of like the music industry changing and going back to like British influences and a mainly kind of American driven like push in music.
Yeah, it's like pop music, but not like Justin Timberlake or the Backstreet Boys or whatever. And I'm not taking shots at those people. I'm just saying you're right. It wasn't Chili Peppers, Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, but it also wasn't those other things. I won't say anymore because it's coming up on mine too. But I agree with you. Have you ever seen? There used to be a show on VH1 called Behind the Music. It was so good. It was like you had to watch it back in the day. And the one about them, you've got to go on. I'll send you the link on YouTube. It's hilarious because number one, you can't understand a single word. They had to put subtitles for Liam and Noel because the way they talk, and just the whole story of them. I love them. So yeah, I won't get into it because I'm gonna get into it in a minute. But I agree with that choice. So my number 7, and you said you weren't a big hip hop person, and that's cool. I am all over the place, and I love rap music. From the time Run DMC came into my life, like I said, in '86, I have listened to rap music as much as I've listened to other stuff. And I wasn't sure what was going to be on here or where it was going to fit in, but Illmatic from Nas is one of my favorite albums ever. I was always a big fan, even though it became a deal. Like, people didn't like sampling. They didn't like you using other people's music to create. And he did a great job with that, especially on this album. There's a song called It Ain't Hard to Tell, which has a sample in it, and another one called Memory Lane, Sitting in the Park. That's like, I've listened to it over and over and over and over again. The first song I mentioned used a sample from Human Nature from Michael Jackson off of Thriller. This just perfect. When you hear it, you're like, oh my gosh, this is great, using that song in that way. I mean, he's one of the greatest rappers of all time, and that album absolutely fits on my list.
Yeah. I need to get more into hip hop because like I've listened to like Wu-Tang Clan, and that's kind of it in terms of like early hip hop and rap and that kind of thing. I don't know why I've never, because like that's all my generation listens to now is like new hip hop and like rap and stuff. So no, I need to be more like you and broaden my musical listening.
Well, the funny thing is I mean, I can understand when people don't, because obviously the language at times and whatever, but being a person who never really listens that much to lyrics, it's always about the beat to me, or it's about the guitar or the drums or whatever. And my friend Chad and I, we just listened to rap all the time, and it was all different kinds of things. But then next thing you know, we're listening to, rock and roll again or whatever. So yeah, I'm all over the map with electronic or whatever. So we're to 6 already. What's your number 6?
So I gotta being Pearl Jam, my favorite band, I gotta put Vitalogy at number 6. It's not their strongest. Out of I think their first 3 records, it's definitely the weakest. But the highs are so high. Like, I mean, you got Corduroy, you got Better Man, you got Nothing Man. Spin the Black Circle, I think, won a Grammy. But then you have, like, not to shade on Pearl Jam, and if you like these songs, that's fine. But some of the lowest lows in Pearl Jam's, like, early stuff. I mean, Bugs is a joke. And, like, you can argue that there's like maybe a deep meaning behind it. I don't see it. You got like after Immortality, there's a couple, or there's like that last song that's kind of odd. So that's why I can't put it higher than 6. But I also am like a diehard Pearl Jam fan, so it would have, for me, I couldn't not have it on the list. But no, I still love the album. It's just some of the parts on it are kind of odd.
Yeah, I think I've always believed that the bands that are your favorites, you don't care if they go in a different direction or they do whatever. Like, I love my favorite bands. But you're right. I just think those lows, the ones that I'm like, I don't care if I ever, and this sounds like I'm not, Eddie Vedder, you guys do what you want, but if I'm not listening to that song Bugs ever again, I'm never listening to it. I love Last Exit and the ones that you named. They're good songs. And you're also right. It's not 10 and it's not Versus. It's not even like the highs, like you said, are close. They're good. You could take the highs off of Vitology and put them on the others and they'd fit perfectly. But yeah, that's why I couldn't put it in my top 10. And I had it in there and I went back and was like, nope, it's just the lows are too far beneath the lows of some of the others. But I mean, still some really good songs that you would listen. Like I said, Corduroy is wonderful. That's a great song. Just great. All right, my turn. Number 6. Definitely Maybe. You said it. It's Oasis was something else. I mean, I remember them from, What's the Story? Morning Glory is probably the first one I owned. I don't know if I owned Definitely Maybe. My friend Chad had it. And when I listened to it this week at work, what I call it is like the sneer. Like you just make a face with the songs. You're just like, that is so freaking good. You just like sneer about it. Like Supersonic is such a good song. I mean, it's so good. And Live Forever is so freaking good. Like you just sit there and you're like, I don't deserve this song. It's too good. And my
Nobody
other one
else sounds like them.
I know. And like I said, you need to watch. I'll send that to you. I just like the fact that they hate each other and they're brothers and the whole deal. And when they talk, you can't understand them. When they sing, it's beautiful. And the song Slide Away, oh my gosh. I could listen to that song every single day. If you're watching this or listening to us and you've never listened to Definitely Maybe from Oasis and you say you like music, you're nuts. It's so good. That album is so good.
Great.
Like there's no way it isn't in the top 10, top 6 for me. So your turn. There's nothing.
All
I mean,
right.
you can, if you have something else that made you think of, hit it. But yeah,
you
were right.
honestly.
And that song that album is so good.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Morning Glory is great, equally as great sometimes.
Yeah, and I love a lot of their music. Like Standing on the Shoulder of Giants. I'll listen to Sunday Morning Call all day, every day. Like there are some great songs, but you're right. And you listen to Definitely Maybe, and you're like, wait a minute, this is their debut album. Like if they never made another album again, you're like, these guys are fire. To use a word that the kids would use. So.
All right, number 5. So if this was like 2 years before, I would have told you that this was the greatest album of 1994. And if you didn't think that, you're crazy. I had a huge Green Day phase 2 years ago, and I'm still kind of trying to get out of that Green Day phase. I love Green Day. Dookie, in my opinion, is their greatest album ever. I mean, it's not their longest by a long shot, but I mean, Basket Case obviously being the hit, but Welcome to Paradise is my favorite Green Day song. I have never skipped that song ever. I love that song, but you also got like Longview and She and some of the, like Having a Blast is one of the kind of lesser known tracks on it, and that's one of my favorite songs on it. Not a very great meaning to that song, but it's definitely fun to listen to. FOD is the last song on the record. It's also kind of another deep cut. and that's also one of my favorite songs on the record. But I mean, I could go on and on about Green Day in general, especially around that time. They were such an underground um, band. They had two records before it, two or three, um, that never went anywhere, and they're great too. But then just if you listen to their last album before that, and then Dookie, the shift in like perfection is incredible. I mean, they went from being just like another like 8-track recording demo band to like this is a band that is mainstream.
Yeah, I can remember when they hit. I remember when Longview came on MTV, and you hadn't heard it before. You hadn't heard stuff like that before. It was different than what they had been playing on MTV before that. It didn't make either of my lists, being mainly because I did own it, and I love Basket Case, and When I Come Around, and I do like Longview. But the rest of it for me, and I even bought Kerplunk, which I think was the one before that.
Yeah.
I had it on CD. Which had, what is it, 1,000 light years or something.
Yeah.
I never, and I even liked the stuff after that, the hits, but I never was able to, with any of those albums, like just fall in, like none of them were ever going to be a no skip for me. They were going to be some of them were automatic skips. And I really loved those songs, the hits, and the rest of it I could have done without. That's the way I felt about them. Like I never would have put them in that pantheon of 90s groups that I love dearly. Like it wasn't close. So, okay, my number 5, if you would have told me 6 weeks ago we were going to do this and I was going to like pick this album to be in at number 5 on my list. I've listened to it twice all the way through in the last 3 or 4 days. I owned it on CD in typical Tony Wherley fashion. I never listened to all of it until I had streaming where I could easily skip it. Wildflowers from Tom Petty is number 5 on my list. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers put out a ton of great songs, and I said at the beginning of this about how I'm going to be recording soon 1989, and 1989 is when Full Moon Fever came out, which is one of the greatest albums of all time. And to think that Tom Petty backed up Full Moon Fever, his first solo album, with Wildflowers is insane. People would remember Wildflowers for You Don't Know How It Feels, which is a great song. And as I'm listening through it, it goes 4 in a row that are just unbelievable. Like you would never skip the first 4 songs of that. It is such a great album. So I picked a song called Honeybee that's further down, like in the middle of the album. That's great. I challenge you to listen to this album. I think you would really like it. If you like Full Moon Fever, give it a chance. It is so good. He was such a great singer. He was such a great artist. Him and the Traveling Wilburys, I don't know if you've ever listened to them before, when it was like him and a bunch of other famous artists, Bob Dylan and George Harrison and Jeff Lynne, who was in ELO, Roy Orbison. Like if you've never listened to them, you should give that a listen when you get a sec. Obviously it's not alternative music, but this album from Tom Petty is underrated. And a dummy back when he was 23 years old owned it and did not listen to it, and has listened to it all the way through twice in the last 3 days. It's that good. It is that good.
No, I'm definitely not a seasoned Tom Petty listener, but everything I have listened to by him is phenomenal. So I don't really see why that wouldn't be any different.
And like I said, just if you ever have that day when, because I have those days where you're like, I don't know what to listen to today, and I'm like, okay, there you go. It's kind of like what you said about Hootie and the Blowfish in terms of like, I don't know if it's always like feel good all of them, because they're not all like that, but like you don't listen to a Tom Petty song and you're like, I'm bummed out, or I'm in a really good mood. I don't want to listen to Tom Petty because he's gonna bring me down. Like that album is just really, 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 really good. So you have to give it a chance. And if someone's watching or listening to this and you agree with me, cool, because it is really good. So we're already into the top 4 now. The ones that I said for me were a lock. It was just what order are you putting them in. So I'm interested. I know one that's in yours. I'm interested to see what else is in there.
So at 4, I'm putting 4. I am a huge Blues Traveler fan. Pretty much just because of 4. I mean, their first album is great too, but 4, I like their music because it was kind of like you said. If I want to be in a good mood or I am in a good mood, they don't have any songs that don't really put me in a good mood. They're all just like the most dopamine-inducing songs. I mean, there's definitely some like ballads in there and like slower stuff, but like those are kind of like goosebump songs for me. But no, you got like obviously Run Around and Hook, and those are the big hits. But like Stand is the second song on the album, and that's awesome. There's a song on 4 called Crash Burn. And it's basically the whole song is just the band showing what they can do musically. And just like, he goes from shredding a harmonica to shredding the guitar to shredding the drums. I don't know if that's a term of it. And then this like awesome bass run. And like, that's the whole song is just them like going all out. Mountains Win Again, obviously that's my favorite song on the record. It's amazing. Brother John is the last song. Also a great song. It's more of kind of a ballady song. Yeah, I probably shouldn't stop because I don't know. I love this band. Also, side note, their mascot, like the cat, is awesome. And one of my favorite. Like, there's some bands that'll have a little like mascot, like with like Sublime, they have like the sun, and I don't know. This one's my favorite because it's just awesome.
Yeah, I said they were in my just missed, and honestly, this week they just about jumped in the 10 because of me listening to that a couple of times. And honestly, I don't know if I would have given it a chance if I didn't know you were a fan, even though I owned it long before you were even born. But they kind of got minimized because, the harmonica and the way they sounded, and, like, we talked about at the beginning, music was changing so fast in the early 90s that if you didn't like just catch something, you weren't going to keep going. And listening back to it, it's such a good album. You can mock it all you want if it's because it's music, it's just different or whatever, but I love it. It's a great album. And you said the songs where it's just, and that's my deal, is instrumental stuff. And the funny thing is the other thing that I gained from listening to this again was I was like, I'm going to go back and look at their discography in Spotify. And that first album has a song on it called But Anyway. I've listened to that song 7 times in the last 3 days. That song is so good. And I'm not making that up. Like, I'd never listened to it before. Like, I really, really wish I would have given that album more of a chance when I had it, instead of just listening to Hook, skip to Run Around, skip to this one, because it's a good album. It really is. And if I did listen to it, I sure don't remember it. But that's on me. So yeah, that's a good choice, and I can understand why you have it in your top 4.
What about you?
My number 4, like I said, could have been 3, could have been 2. It couldn't have been 1, but it could have been the others. And I owned it on CD, and I listened to it over and over and over and over again. And I have it on vinyl. Purple from Stone Temple Pilots. It has one of my favorite songs ever, that if songs could get in a fist fight, I think the song Big Empty could win a lot of fights. The song Big Empty was in a movie called The Crow. I don't know if you've ever seen it. Bruce Lee's son Brandon. It was so good. It had such a fantastic soundtrack. Dead Souls was a song from 9 Inch Nails. It wasn't on, that they ended up putting on like the re-release of the Downward Spiral. It was just a really good soundtrack. But Big Empty Oh my gosh! And I was on the Stone Temple Pilots from the moment they came out. Like they took so much crap when they came out from different people because they were trying to be Pearl Jam, is what everybody said, and Scott Weiland was trying to sound like Eddie Vedder. And I was on him from core and stayed on him. I still listen to that. I love them. And that album. Still Remains is the other one that I typed out, only because I tried to pick one that was a hit and then one that maybe wasn't. I can listen to it front to back. I wouldn't say it was a no skip, but it's pretty darn close. Interstate Love Song. Who doesn't hear that song and just love it unless there's something wrong with you? I love that album. I love them, and it definitely should be in my top 4 of 94.
All right, top 3. So, top 3 was hard because I kind of have 3 that I'm almost, I don't want to say equally. I had one that I knew was going to be 1, but really the other 2. So for 3, I put Super Unknown. You already touched on a lot of the stuff I was going to touch on. It's great. But I also really like it because I'm a big fan of their first album. Well, not first album. Their 91 album, Bad Motor Finger. It's kind of like the definition of grunge. It's just like this like gritty, kind of like garagey, like grungy sound. And Super Unknown is that, but it's also this huge pivot in Soundgarden into more of this like melodic band. And I think that's super cool. I mean, you obviously have Black Hole Sun, which is like, I mean, one of the best hits to come out of the 90s. But there's also, Fell on Black Days. That's great. Spoon Man's great. There's also this song that doesn't get a lot of light, but I think should. It's called 4th of July on that album. And it's this like sludgy, down-tuned guitar thing. And it kind of gets overlooked a lot because it's kind of weird. But so many of the later like metal bands of like the late 90s and like early 2000s credit that song as such a big influence because of how different it was. And it was like the first song on a mainstream record to be down-tuned on the guitar like that. And it kind of, in a way, besides Black Sabbath, it kind of in a way like invented like sludge metal and like that kind of down-tuned, I don't know any other word to describe it than sludgy music. But no, Super Unknown's great.
Yeah,
and Soundgarden's great.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you. It's funny because when I said earlier that I was listening to 89, you know, like getting ready for this one that I'm going to do in about a week with Jerry, like Louder Than Love came out in 89. That was their first album. Mm-hmm. And then you're 100% right. Part of the reason why 91 is the top 2 greatest years of music of all time was because Bad Motor Finger was in it. And here's how I liken, you go from Bad Motor Finger to Super Unknown is this. It's kind of like if you've ever listened to And Justice for All from Metallica and then you go to the Black Album from them, how it's just cleaner. It just sounds, it's still that same kind of music, and it's the same, you're right, the sludge term, but it's just, there's something about it that just sounds cleaner in that way. Not, you know, it doesn't make sense because sludge and clean, but you know what I mean? Like it just sounds better produced or whatever, and it doesn't change what they are or who they are. It just, you're right. It's a really, really good album with some really great songs on it that you're just, when you listen to it, you go back and listen to it if you haven't listened to it for a while, and you're like, yep, that's as good as I remember it being. It really is that good. It's that good of an album.
Yeah. And kind of side note with that album, Brendan O'Brien, who doesn't get enough credit, he produced Super Unknown, and also the first 2 Stone Temple Pilots records. The Offspring's I don't know how many other records, but I know he did a Smash. I think um, he did Red Hot Chili Peppers. What album? The one that doesn't have John Frusciante on it, the like middle one that kind of that has Aeroplane.
One Hot Minute.
Yeah, he did that, and he did Rage Against the Machine, and then he went on to do like the Killers and stuff. He was such an and did I say Pearl Jam? I don't know, but he produced Vitalogy and Versus.
Right.
He's a genius in terms of like mixing and mastering and stuff, and he's kind of this like I don't want to say forgotten because people know him, but like this like forgotten hero of the '90s. He made all these albums like these amazing like. I'm a big fan of guitar tone. Obviously, I'm a guitar player.
Right.
Some of the best guitar tones ever, and then also just like he's a genius in terms of mixing.
Yeah, it's just a great album, and it's a different quality than what Bad Motorfinger was. Even though Bad Motorfinger is just a legendary album as well. So no question that it should be in your top 3 or in a top 3. I would not argue that at all. My number 3, I've been a big Beastie Boys fan for a long time. And when I was a kid and Licensed to Ill came out, we went to my mom's for Mother's Day, and I dug in the back of that little garage that's not connected to her house, and I found a bunch of my old records and my old 45s, and I found the 45 for Fight for Your Right to Party. Like, I've loved them from day one. And Ill Communication is just another level. Like, License to Ill was great. Paul's Boutique is something else. But Ill Communication, and then you make a video like Sabotage. Are you kidding me? Sabotage. And the funny thing about them is they're rapping, but they're also playing instruments. Like, it's musical. It's not just sampling, but it was sampling. They're so diverse. Like, I just love them so much. So clearly I picked Sabotage as one of the 2 songs, even though it was, the hit off of it. I was a goofy teacher, and I would try goofy things. And one time I remember I had this idea to play instrumental music, while the kids were working on something. Like, it was a timed thing. Like, they only had so much time to get something done. And I play a song called Ricky's Theme off of it. You have to go back and listen to it. And imagine an old Mr. Wherley having his students work on something, and they only had until the song ran out, until the music ran out. And it's just, they're so good at doing multiple different things. And I just love them so much. And I wish they were together still. If one of the, Adam hadn't passed away,
Yeah.
and they were still making music, because even they were older than me, they just still got it. I loved Check Your Head was one of my favorite albums ever. I just love them. I've always loved them, and I always will love that band.
No, they're great. Sabotage is probably my favorite bass riff ever. Just that whole song.
Yeah, they just got it. I mean, they did. And you watch them play on Letterman, or you watch them play on a late night show, and they're playing the instruments, and yeah, they've always been, and they always will be, just something different that not many people were doing. So that's my number 3. Well, we're almost there. What's number 2?
You already touched on it, but I put Purple at number 2. Not much to say, honestly, that you already said. I mean, Core is fantastic. Core was that was their debut, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
I'm not wrong
Core
on
was
that.
first.
But they, Core is perfect. Well, I don't know. It's close to perfect. And Purple is no exception. I mean, it's just a great follow-up. You said Big Empty. I could talk about Big Empty for forever. I mean, it's just a, perfect song. I mean, it starts with the whole, hillbilly, slide thing, but then it goes into this big, clash of all the music together, and it's really a just great song. Obviously, Interstate Love song. off that album is great. But no, they didn't miss at all in those first two albums. I mean, they just were both, in my opinion, great. Um,
Yeah, then Tiny Music was the third one, and it's got a bunch of great songs on it. And even the one number, they just named it number 4. Like that album, I've listened to. Oh, my friend Chad had it. I listened to that thing over and over. Sour Girl is on it. Sour Girl is one of my favorite. They were so good, and they really did get minimized. And thankfully, it didn't matter because they kept making great music. And yeah, I could completely, like I told you, my top 4, maybe except for number 1, they could have been shuffled. 2, 3, 4 could have been shuffled easily, and I wouldn't have felt like I was a bonehead for swapping them out. My number 2 is something you may have never listened to, which is funny. We've got All This Way, and I got a feeling your number 1 is my number 1. But my number 2 is an album called Amorica by the Black Crowes. I love the Black Crowes. I mean, I really love the Black Crowes. I remember when Shake Your Money Maker came out in, I think, 89, 90, like right around that time. And I owned it. At first I didn't like it, or I didn't like the song Hard to Handle, but then I gave it a chance, and then I was listened to the second album, and I love their kind of music. I was all about the Allman Brothers, which they're not really the Allman Brothers, but it's that kind of Southern sound to it ish, if you want to say that. But like, I have Amorica on vinyl. I listen to it frequently. It has so many good songs on it. I love them. They are one of my favorite bands ever. They, again, 2 brothers didn't get along, split up for a while, got back together. Wiser Time is the song that was a hit. That's my favorite. And then a song called Descending is the other one I typed up in my sheet that I could listen. There's maybe 2 that I wouldn't listen to very often, but the rest of them are just great. I just love it, love it, love it.
They're rock and roll.
Yeah.
They're not grunge. They're not alternative. They're straight up rock and roll. And they're like one of the few bands post early rock and roll that is they're just rock and roll.
Yeah, you're exactly right. They navigated through that time of the 90s and early 2000s that had turned to grunge, and they were still successful. And I'm serious. Every one of their albums, either I had it or my friend Chad had it, and we listened to them over and over again. Like we'd listen to rap, and then we'd go to the Black Crowes, and then we would go to grunge, but they never got taken out of the rotation. And then again, Stevie Ray Vaughan was in there too. That's how all over we were. We'd be listening to Stevie Ray Vaughan, rap, the Black Crowes, Soundgarden, Nirvana, whatever. But yeah, the Black Crowes are so good. So here we are at number 1. I'll be surprised if your number 1's not mine, but I guess we're gonna see. So your number 1 album of 1994 is
Jar of Flies. Alice in Chains, one of the best bands like ever. There's just no question. And Jar of Flies came at such an interesting kind of point in their career. I mean, they just had success with, Facelift with Man in the Box, and they had Dirt with like Wood and Rooster and all those great songs. But then they go around and they put out basically an acoustic record. And it's perfect. I mean, there's not a song on it that isn't just like amazing, in my opinion. They open with Rotten Apple. Rotten Apple's amazing. Nutshell, obviously, is like one of the standout songs of the 90s. When I Stay Away, which, they're all just amazing. These like big ballad, acoustic, emotional songs that, they have all these like really deep meanings of like where they were at in their life. And Don't Follow also at the end. Don't Follow is amazing. No Excuses is amazing. Um, yeah, no, just I also just really like when bands make an acoustic record, and this is probably the best one that I, in my opinion.
It it's a no skip. It's my
Yeah,
number one too, and it's not close. I don't.
it's not.
There was no way any of the other albums that I listed, that I listened to. It's not even close, because like you said from the beginning, from the second that Rotten Apple starts, I think I remember buying it and being like, this is different. You go Rotten Apple, Nutshell, I Stay Away, No Excuses, right off the bat. You get punched in the face 4 times in a row, and like, and I'll argue till the end of time that Lane Staley's voice might not be the greatest voice of anybody ever. His voice just drips with what he was going through and what life was to him or whatever. Because that's why I love Mad Season so much.
Yeah,
Yeah. River of Deceit is one of the greatest songs ever.
I was
So
in my
freaking
dorm room
good.
constantly.
Oh my gosh, and that's him. It's him, and Jar of Flies. Again, it wasn't even close. When you started to make that list of, okay, what am I picking from? You're putting a pile of what am I choosing? You're like, well, I'm taking that one first. And
Yeah,
it was never a question. There was never a question. And that doesn't always happen. Having done this with a number of 80s years, this being the first one that I've done with anybody of the 90s, there was no part of me that was not going to pick Jar of Flies as number one.
no, and it's fascinating because like for such a heavy band, for like one of the like staples of, I mean they were in the big four of grunge
Right.
bands. Like they take this, like they go from, they put down the like heavy guitars and they make an acoustic album and it's perfect. I mean, it's, in my opinion, their best album. It's just like, I don't know, it's not a happy album,
Yeah. Yeah,
but
I don't think you're going to put it on if you're like, "Hey, I need to cheer up." But I mean,
oh
it doesn't matter because of just its I mean, it's just so good. It really really is. And you're right with it coming right after Dirt, which is, speaking of sludge, and
yeah,
if there you looked up grunge in the dictionary, you see the album Dirt, and it just absolutely, and you can't trust Wikipedia. I know, don't use it as a source if you're writing a paper or whatever. But
yeah,
I thought there was a quote in what I read on there about it, like that Jerry Cantrell, they weren't sure if anybody would really like how popular it would be, and then it just exploded, and it let them know that, hey, we can kind of do whatever we want in terms of like the not whatever we want, but like the things that we like, our fans like it too. And I think that, because I don't think it's that huge of a departure from Dirt in terms of the heaviness of it. It's
yeah.
obviously, more acoustic, like you said,
Mhm.
but just so good. And it's just like, again, Lane Staley's voice, I'll take it over just about anybody's.
Yeah. No, and then it gives you more appreciation too for like their next album, Tripod. That's their next album, right? I'm not
Let
making
me,
that up.
I got that up right now. Let's see, where do they go after that?
I'm pretty sure it's Tripod, but
Yeah,
I
it's
don't want
that.
to say
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
it's the self-titled one with the dog. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And that album blends kind of Dirt and uh Jar of Flies. It's not, for me, that's probably like my fourth favorite album, but it's still great. I mean, they're like Heaven Beside You on that album's really good, and that
yeah,
takes a lot of notes from I feel like it takes a lot of notes from Jar of Flies. But no, no question, it's Jar of Flies is their magnum opus. I mean, it's not very long. It's only
8 tracks, I think.
eight tracks, and they just, I mean,
7 actually,
it's
7.
it's only seven.
Yeah,
Jeez. So it's probably, is it technically an EP then, or is it
yeah. It was considered an EP.
okay?
It was considered an EP, but for this, there was no way I wasn't going to consider it.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
I mean, if you had an EP that had like 4 songs, I don't know if I would or not. But the funny thing I think
no,
about it is when I went to check to see when we were talking about the album after it, like 2 albums later, they make the best Unplugged album. I'll fight anybody on that. Like, it's the best Unplugged album. And the funny thing is like, it already kind of was that anyway. Like, hearing their other songs as an Unplugged, I love that Unplugged, and the highlights of that Unplugged for the most part, other than Down in a Hole, are things that come from that come from Jar of Flies. So
there's a lot of good Unplugs. That theirs is one of my favorites.
It's really good.
It's really good.
Yeah. Well, we did it. We made it through 1994. We agreed on number 1. We were all over the place on the rest. So that's a good year. That's a good year. I said, I think when I first started, I thought it was, for me, I think the top 4, it's kind of like we said, or like I said, the NCAA tournament. The top 4, for me anyway, I wasn't going to swap them out, but I could have swapped their order. There's some in that Just Miss list that probably could have been up in the other one, and things that could have dropped. But I think that's a couple good lists.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with it. I kind of wish I could have had 10 Just Miss, because I'm looking back and I'm like,
yeah, I know.
311 wasn't on my Just Miss list, and anyone who knows me knows that I'm obsessed with 311. So.
Well, the funny thing is like, there were some things that would have been like, you would have been, wait, what? You were thinking about putting that on there? There's an album from Madonna. I love Madonna back before she didn't give it up when she should have gave it up. Her album, Bedtime Stories, it has some really classic, great songs on it. And I was like, nah, I'm not putting it on there. And we always do this. Anytime I ever record them like this, do you have your list that you were choosing from in front of you? Do you have it anywhere near you? Do you have that?
I got it on my other screen. I'm looking at the list of all of them.
Okay, so here's the rule. No comment, just fire stuff out. So throw me one that didn't make it, but no explanation, just what's something that should have made it.
Pantera,
okay.
Undriven. I love Pantera.
Yep, there's 2 songs on it. It brought me to one of my favorite Sabbath songs. Mm-hmm. For me, I hated that I didn't find a place for... Where is it? What am I missing? There was something I was absolutely... Well, I said the Madonna one. I guess that counts as one of them. So, you have anything else on that list that... Or anything that wasn't on my list that I shared with you? Anything that you...
Let me see.
Like I said, you mentioned Mellow Gold. I still can't believe I left that off. Jamiroquai is one of my favorite bands. I listen to them all the time. That album, The Return of the Space Cowboy, is so good. I love Jamiroquai.
I just had a devastating realization. I didn't even think about Weezer.
Yep, Weezer, that album.
That's like one of my... Dang, okay. Well, that would probably be in my top 10. I don't even know why I didn't think about that. But
here's what's funny about doing this. This is the thing. This happens to me every time I've done it, where there's been something that you can go through it with a fine-tooth comb and you still are like, wait, what? I didn't put that. I didn't think of that one. Yeah, there's like 3 songs on that Weezer album that I really, really like. And it's not Buddy Holly. It wasn't some of the ones that were popular. I listened to it this week at work, and it's
America.
Yeah, there's some good songs on that. And I didn't like them at the time, but I like them now.
Oh, Boyz II Men, too.
Yeah, that wasn't on my. Yeah, that's another one. Yeah.
No, I at that same music festival, I never listened to Boyz II Men because I was always like, oh, it's just like a boy band. But we saw them. I saw them live, and I was like, these guys are great.
Huh.
But no, that definitely. I don't think that would make my top 10, but they're worth mentioning. They're cool.
TLC, the song Creep. The song Creep. Oh boy, I could listen to that song all day, every day. I love that. I love that song. That album was good. Red Light Specials on that. Like, that's another one that could have been on there. Outkast put their first rap album out. I love Andre 3000. He's one of my favorites ever. That one doesn't have as many, like, as I go or we go through the 90s. They'll definitely be on there. I love listening to them. We talked EPs, Smashing Pumpkins, Pisces Iscariot. I didn't add that. That was kind of like a B-sides thing. I owned it and listened to the crap out of it. It's very good. I don't know if you ever heard of Ben Harper. Ben Harper's really good. Welcome to the Cruel World was his debut album. I'm sure you may have heard of him. He's good friends with Jack Johnson, if you've heard of Jack Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Same kind of music, kind of.
Hole this.
Yeah, I had it, and I just never liked it that much. I liked the second one better. It kind of goes with, we were talking about something being clean. What's that? What's the second one? It had Malibu on it, and oh, I can sing it, but you don't want me to sing it. Trust me.
Is that the one with
what's it called?
Celebrity
Malibu
Skin?
and what's that? Celebrity Skin on that? Yeah, okay. Celebrity Skin. That's the name of the album, isn't it?
I don't know. That might not be the album I'm talking about. I don't know I don't have.
No, you're right. The song's Celebrity Skin, but the album is Celebrity Skin too. Yeah, we're both right. Yeah, the first one was so much harder and her angsty, like, doll parts, and I follow someone on Instagram. They're a younger person, not a person I know, just someone that talks about music, and they were saying that Live Through This is a no skip, and I'm like, you weren't alive yet, and I had it on CD, and I was skipping a lot of it, but
that's not my favorite.
But I mean, some of the songs are okay. Miss World's not a bad song. I don't mean that, but yeah, that was on that list to choose from. But
is Violet on that? I think Violet's on that.
Yep, that's on it too. Yeah. There's some rap. Obviously, the Notorious B.I.G.'s first album, Ready to Die, was on there. That was on my list to choose from. Massive Attack. Massive Attack is another electronic group that I really, really, really love. Like I don't know, what do they call it? Dubstep. Like that kind of really bass-heavy electronic music. And I love them. It could have flipped with another one. I still just can't believe that Pink Floyd, it's got some good songs on it, but it's a huge drop off from the one before it. So 16 Stone, you called that right. 16 Stone, that's a good song. Or I mean a good album that I was really fighting with not having it on there. Blur.
I'm surprised you didn't put
Blur Park Life. I don't know if you've listened to much Blur, but they're really good. They're in that same Oasis vein, sort of.
Britpop.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't put Prince anywhere.
There's not a lot on that. There's just not a lot. That was when it started. He started to. I love him. He's still the GOAT for Purple Rain and other stuff, but that was an easy cross out. So, but. All right. Well, 94. Maybe I'll pick the next year, and then you're going to have to do the studying on the next year. So are you thinking you could do 90 to 99, you think, or?
Yeah. No, I mean, each year has like a lot of, especially I've been on a big 99 kick lately, and like, especially with like I've watched every Woodstock thing like over and over.
Yeah.
Because obviously it was pretty unfortunate, but like the actual performances were amazing. I mean, you had the early Creed, and I will get into it because I'd talk for forever. But
yeah, I can remember watching it on MTV. Yeah, it was crazy when you were watching it live. It was something else. So maybe that's what we'll do. We'll do it. A 99. So there's your assignment. Right. Your assignment is in a couple of weeks. Let's do 99. I'll need some time because I don't even have a list like the one we were just looking at. But I'll throw together a list and share it with you, and then you can add to it as you choose. Because I think it's better that way. When I send you that Google Doc and you add to it and I add to it, because I just go through Wikipedia and find the things that were released, and maybe there's something I missed or something you missed, like we said with Weezer or whatever. So, all right. Well, if you tuned in to listen to this, you're welcome. Nothing better than listening to two guys who know a lot about music talk about the great year of 1994, and especially the life-altering album that is Jar of Flies from Alice in Chains. So, Noah, it was good to talk to you. Good to see you. One of these days we need to do one in person. You can come over and I'll cook for you, and we can do them out, record it out on the deck or something, and listen to the birds chirp as we do that. So maybe you can bring Dad with you and we can throw Dad in.
Yeah. I don't know how much help he'll be musically, but I know he'd want to talk about baseball.
Well, we could do that. We could definitely do that. So, all right. Well, thanks for jumping on with me. If you're listening at home, remember what I always say, because it's true. Life is good. We'll see you next time. 1999.